As the dawn of a new day begins, somewhere on this planet, an animal species is being erased, not by nature, but by man. Whether life on Earth came about as one act of God, or, as most scientists believe, through billions of years of evolution, man, nevertheless, is destroying it, paving way only for himself. Every living thing needs a place to live, find food, and reproduce. When we take over natural areas for our own use, we take away those areas meant for other living creatures. Habitat loss is the greatest threat to the natural world. We are taking over habitat at an alarming rate to provide ourselves with dams, industries, bring more area under agriculture, and raise infrastructures which cater to our needs and comfort. Recent estimates suggest that at least 120 out of the 620 living primate species will go extinct in the wild in the next decade or two at current rates of habitat loss. Large animals are often hit hardest by loss of habitat, because they need larger areas in which to have a healthy breeding population. The only species not truly affected by habitat loss are those which benefit from human activity, such as cockroaches and rats. The glorious elephant, from which we have so much to learn, can we save them and let them remain in the wild as wild? If our population blossoms at the current rate, our grandchildren may perhaps never be able to see an elephant, except in a picture book. So, should we be worried about the next 100 years or the next 50 years? The answer is simple: no. We should be worried about the next 5 years and the next 10 years. Can we garner mass sympathy to retain and save our wildlife? Let's keep certain practicalities in mind before reflecting on the question of mass support for wildlife. People who haven't got a square meal a day can hardly be expected to sympathize with spending public money on looking after animals. Secondly, where are we going to accommodate the growing population which needs more space, both for home and food? Obviously, more forest area will have to come under agriculture and urbanization. The result? Every day, a new leopard or elephant will walk into the territory which once belonged to him and find himself hunted and slaughtered for no fault of his. India has already lost out on a beautiful animal. The cheetah is just not there anymore. And it is only now that we are waking up to the fact that Indian Royal Bengal tigers seem to vanish into thin air, their skins seized at some airport. Greed and gluttony, two of the 7 sins of man, also contribute to the raising of wildlife. In the past, we have made a game out of wildlife, they became prized possessions, a symbol of masculinity for a waning, aged prince. Greed. A century down the line, a dead animal today is worth its weight in gold. Barbed fences and walls around a reserved forest area are no match to the technology involved in breaking into it. Gluttony. The appetite of man for delicacies unexplored seems to be redirected in areas that would make our ancestors turn in their graves. Even dolphins, the mammal considered by sailors in the past as rescuers of drowning seamen, are now being hunted for their flesh and oil. And what we can't eat, we make them work for us. Wild animals, which evolved and adopted a myriad devious defenses for their survival, failed to build any kind of armor against Homo sapiens. That was to be their undoing. Today they have no defenses to match the man. Wildlife is at our mercy. The rules of the jungle are not designed by nature anymore. We design them. As memories fade with time, the line between reality and myth will become difficult to unravel. Perhaps there existed a unicorn. Perhaps there existed a beautiful animal called the Royal Bengal tiger. Or were they just myths? The scenario is as scary as it can get for any animal lover. As territories of wild animals shrink, man's killing of animals will pale in comparison to what animals could do to themselves, leading to their extinction. The enemy would be within. Inbreeding, weak health, and selection of poor mating partners would result in a dying species. Will tomorrow see a shrunk, pale, and weak tiger or lion, instead of the majestic animals we all admire? What does the future hold for wild animals? These are the realities. Like the army of Alexander, we have conquered the target, wildlife. Pincer-like, from one direction we are moving into their space. From another, we are slowly consuming their food and resources. Can we stop this ugly reality? Can we prevent man from taking over the resources of other living things? The future is, without doubt, bleak for wildlife. But what the present needs is efforts from all quarters, including scientific intervention. Science has progressed so much over the last few decades. Armed with knowledge and experience, the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, CCMB, Hyderabad, in partnership with the Nehru Zoological Park, Government of Andhra Pradesh, has initiated a project called the Laboratory for Conservation of Endangered Species, LACONES, to use the route of biotechnological intervention for the conservation of endangered animals. It has been designed as a national program for both conservation as well as propagation of endangered species. India, unfortunately, has little scientific data on animals. Is artificial insemination the answer? How much knowledge do we have? Can we clone? The questions before us are many. Ensconced in the serene environs of Attapur near Nehru Zoological Park, Hyderabad, LACONES has days and years of hard work laid out before it. And the one thing that it doesn't have is time. as time is running out for the animals in the wild. Piloted by animal lovers and scientists, Dr. Lalji Singh and Dr. S. Shivaji, Lacones is a result of the initiative taken by the Central Zoo Authority under the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. This project has national and international significance in terms of maintaining biodiversity. Lacones' objectives are grounded in reality and scientific enterprise. They address the essential principle that serves every animal lover's motto. The world is not what we have inherited from our forefathers, but what we leave behind for our children. CCMB already has a database of signatures of about 2,000 known animal species. If the tigers or leopards in a particular area are not producing healthy offspring, the probable cause could be inbreeding. Based on information of the successful growth of healthy offspring elsewhere in the country, a male of that species could be introduced to offset inbreeding. The monitoring of genetic variations among wildlife using sophisticated modern techniques such as DNA fingerprinting assumes significance, since the information obtained from it is highly reliable. But it involves huge amount of fieldwork and coordination from all the concerned departments. Scientist dons the dress of wildlife adventurer and collects DNA material from field sites. The knowledge and data on the degree of genetic variation in species helps in identifying the family lineage of the animal. This will contribute positively towards planned in-house breeding strategies and probably wildlife parks. Lacones will act as a bank for genes. Using cryopreservation, Lacones will house semen, eggs and embryos of endangered species. This is a huge challenge before scientists. Easier said than done. Without breaking any existing laws, though in the name of science, collection of semen, eggs and embryos of endangered species is a combination of a good deal of work at the field level as well as the lab. Besides, of course, having expert knowledge and recognizing which animals are healthy and where they are to be found. Having collected semen through electroejaculation, scientists now have to don the dress of doctor to study which female species of the wild animal is ready for fertilization. The determination of the precise time of ovulation for intrauterine insemination is a work that is clearly cut out for Lacones. In vitro fertilization and embryo transfer, which involves fusion of the spermatozoon with the oocyte and the transfer of the resulting embryo to the true or surrogate mother, can help in developing healthy offspring. Besides genes, Lacones will also house a cell bank. The cells, preserved under appropriate conditions, could be used in future for various purposes, including cloning. And cloning is something Lacones has charted out as one of its objectives, wherever necessary. These objectives of Lacones have already bestowed the fledgling institution with a unique global status. There is hardly a project of this scale anywhere in the world that caters to the needs of not only the big cats such as the lion and tiger, but also to the needs of animals such as deer, non-human primates and birds. If crime is as old as human civilization, then so is man's ingenuity in solving it. Today, tracking down some of the most intricate crime cases have become possible owing to special knowledge and use of newer techniques. One such technique, the analysis of DNA, has become one of the most reliable methods to track down criminals. A drop of blood, a strand of hair, or any mutilated biological sample is enough to trace a criminal. Around the world, this technique has helped in bringing many criminals to face justice. But in crimes relating to animals, the situation for long remained elusive. But not anymore. Bringing about this drastic change is Sherlock Holmes. Scientists at Sherlock Holmes are now using the same techniques to isolate the unique signature in the DNA fragment of the animal and quickly match it with a rapidly growing database of signatures from the animal world that they have painstakingly built up and come to a solid conclusion. The technique, perhaps the first of its kind in the world, is universal in application and needs no prior information about the origin of the biological sample. Sherlock Holmes successfully solved more than 100 cases forwarded by wildlife curators and investigating agencies. One of the most riveting cases was from Chennai Zoo. Visitors to the zoo were walking in huddled groups, not because they feared the caged wild animals, but the one outside the cage. A wild animal, it seemed, was entering and leaving the zoo at will, unmindful of restricted visiting hours. As panic spread in the zoo and nearby villages, officials shut it down. The zoo officials collected feces left behind, but were puzzled over the identity of the beast. Faced with growing panic and pressure to solve the mystery of the strange visitor, the zoo authorities sent the fecal matter for DNA analysis to the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology. Within 36 hours, scientists at Sherlock Holmes analyzed the sample and pronounced the mystery animal was a leopard. Following this, zoo personnel laid a trap and caught the leopard, which turned out to be an adult male in heat. Hailing from a nearby forest area, the male was in search of a mate. Far from Chennai, across the ocean in fact, in Kuala Lumpur, news broke out of the seizure of a consignment carrying a batch of 1,500 star tortoises, cruelly stuffed into small cans. The questions came thick and fast. Where did they come from? Did all of them come from one country or different places like Sri Lanka, Africa and India? How does one figure out? There were no labels, no identification whatsoever. And before any tragedy could take place, officials referred the matter to Sherlock Holmes. For Sherlock Holmes, it became quite easy not only to pinpoint from which country a particular wildlife species came from, but also to which specific region, West Coast or Southern region, based on the data bank of signatures of different species. Scientists performed a DNA analysis of each species to establish at the molecular level their distinct identity. In India, there are two major races, the southern type coming from Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Kerala, and the western species, Gujarat and Rajasthan. Within a short period, scientists tracked down their place of origin. It had a happy ending. The star tortoises returned home to their place of origin, South India. Well, it didn't get them a pat on their back from Mama Tortoise, but it sure made the scientists feel good. For Sherlock Holmes, it's not just forensic applications and conservation of wildlife. Based on the knowledge acquired in the process, scientists today can authoritatively answer queries regarding the exact scenario of each species of wildlife in India. So, when a group of Western scientists raised an international issue of danger to Asiatic lions and tigers in India due to inbreeding, Sherlock Holmes was quick to put the panic to rest. The Asiatic lions exhibit a moderate genetic variability of about 26%, and so do Indian tigers. Low levels of genetic variability is a characteristic of these species. The immune locus data disclosed that the Asiatic lions reveal abundant immune diversity. Analysis of the reproductive parameters at CCMB also did not reveal any significant differences in the incidence of sperm abnormalities and circulating testosterone levels compared to other wild animals. One of the most interesting and complicated assignments recently undertaken by Lacones was in designing and planning out a strategy to catch the most elusive and endangered bird, the white-backed vulture. The Indian white-backed vulture, whose dwindling numbers indicate a drastic drop in population, had become a major cause of worry. With the intention to help preserve the species, assisted reproduction was undertaken. Scientists collected the semen of the white-backed vulture and after careful examination found that the concentration of spermatozoa and percentage of motile spermatozoa was low compared to other birds. Over a period of 2 years, semen from the vultures was collected using the manual massage method. It is for the first time that a project like Lacones is being set up in India. The sheer collaboration of organizations such as the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, the Central Zoo Authority, the Department of Biotechnology, and the government of Andhra Pradesh, who have all come together, speaks of the national importance of the task at hand. What Lacones is effectively doing today is to preserve our tomorrows. Mankind, after all, is not alone on this earth. We share our lives and space with millions of other species. We are as dependent on them as they are on us, even though we may consider ourselves superior. As the ancient Sanskrit saying goes, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one big family. A project like Lacones helps restore the fragile relationship that mankind shares with its animal brethren. It reminds us gently, through its scientific pursuits, that we need to take care of them if we have to take care of ourselves. The Garden of Eden need not be a myth. Lacones can help make it a reality.